Hello all, it's Melinda. Today I'm bringing you Load 517 Day 20. The prompt today is from Grease, a 1978 musical, one of my favorite TV shows that I've watched multiple times since I've been a child. The prompt is, cars are a big part of the movie. What kind of car do you drive now? Or what was your first car? What car did your parents drive when you were young? Or how do you get around without a car? Let's scrap about transportation today. I'm taking this prompt in a slightly different way. I am going to use this sketch about, and I'm going to turn it on its side because it goes this way. I'm going to turn it on its side. This is what started it. I remembered I had a picture of my grandparents in 1957 with their car driving through the chandelier tree at Underwood Park in California. And I've been wanting to scrap this photo. Didn't really have an idea of how or where I'd put it. So, transportation, there's a car. That's my connection. I also found a picture of my grandfather, my mother, and her two brothers on the same vacation. So these are the people that were in this car when this picture was taken. So I'm going to try to work this out. Put it about there. I have these chipboard pieces, laser cut. Cannot recall where exactly these are from, but they're like messy circles. And there is a messy circle on there. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. I don't need both, but maybe that one. That seems a little bit, yeah, that one's too tiny. That one, stick under the photo or something like that. I just got to come up with, I've already gessoed part of the top and the bottom. This is just the Bo Bunny paper that I won at the last load. I'm going to use this as a background paper. But I did put clear gesso on the top and the bottom just so that this would accept the ink I'm going to stick on here. So that's not quite dry and it's wrinkling the paper up a little bit. So I'm going to put you on fast forward and try my hand at getting this done. Thanks for watching.
My first order of business is to let this dry and figure out some of my layers. Now, I'm going to use this notebook paper. It's very thin, and I do this a lot just because it's handy. It's a little pad I have here. It's probably not acid-free, but I do my journaling on it. Now, I've done some looking around, and I think that that chipboard is either a blue fern or a dusty attic. This green paper was in my scrap drawer. It's from Studio Calico. I do not recall the name of it, and I've gotten rid of the manufacturer strip since doing this layout, so I can't recall. I'm pretty much going to stay closest to the sketch, so I'm referring to it as how large I want to cut this. My struggle is going to start with the second layer. The background paper is rustic and kind of a cream based, and I struggle with the next paper to go with it and to match the green. I like the center of this. This is a pink paisley office lingo collection, Close the Loop. It's from 2007, so 10 years old. Had it in my stash. So it wasn't going with the background paper, so I'm going to scrap that and go with watercolor paper. And I want to go through the center of it because the outside around it is more dingy, got some pink in it. So I'm going to go right from the very center of this. It's a little more clear colored. And I'm just using the ruler and ripping it. The background paper being the wood grain I liked it because it looked old and weathered and kind of with the time period, but it just was not going with the greens that I had to pick. And I struggled with the greens. I cut all that out because that was a long process of trying to match that Sudoku Calico green. Shouldn't really say match, complement it. So this was the easy fix for me. Scrap the background. I'm going to do a trial here. These are mermaid markers, and we're going to do seaweed and siren together, trying to match the green. The seaweed is closer. The siren is more of a tealy colored, so I'm going to scrap that. This is October Afternoon Sprinkles Witch's Brew from the Witch's Hazel collection, mixed with seaweed, and that seems to be the right color. I just mix it with my finger to mix it up, and it looks close. So we're going to do this all over again. I didn't waste that. I put that on a spare piece of paper, and we're going to use it another time. It's a background. So we're just going to mix and mix and mix. This one ends up being a little bit different colored. Now the first one I do, it's too much. I put too much on there. So trying to get the color right, I never know how much paint to use, and I usually end up making more paint than I need. So this first one ends up being a spare background paper because it has too big of blobs. But I show you this process because in the end, it all helps make the finished product. Yeah, it's just too big of a spot. I want it to look a little more spotty. And it just kind of bleeds into the area that I want the layers to be. So it'll be good for another layout on a different time. I go with it for a little bit just to see, but it's clear right from there that, yeah, that big blob at the top is not going to work. Turn it around. Nope. I didn't want them to be so dark and touch the layers like that. So we're going to start over. Bring out the pad. I just cut this down to a 12 by 12. And we're going to just use the same exact piece of plastic with the same amount of paint on it. And it's the perfect amount for what I want to do. Imagine that. Less paint. Put a little more water on it because it's starting to dry. Mixed media is just wonderful. Watercolor, add a little water, life is grand. Now that is looking good. Sorry about the focus, all the moving around. Now this dries really quickly because the paint's almost dry anyway. And if you notice, it's got two different tones of green. That I really like. And I'd say that is working perfectly. I'm happy with that. I should have just left that mat there because I've got to color the chipboard. That is Plain Jane baseboard in coal. And I just use spray it on, and I just use a towel to kind of wipe it around. Doesn't have to be perfect. Let it dry for just a touch and then go back at it. This is 3-inch wide washi tape newsprint. I get it from AliExpress. I'll leave a link down below. And I like a ripped edge, so I cut it. Rip it, I should say, down the center. Now that's one I had ripped from another layout, so it was already ripped, but I'm going to rip another one. I just wanted I don't know, I liked the ripped newspaper. Now it does bother me that the newspaper is going the wrong orientation, the words are. But I decided to let this go because the thought of ripping pieces to make them look nice, to make the newspaper go the right way, was just too much. Too much hassle. that one's a little bit low on that corner, so just rip another piece, lay it over. Most of it's going to be covered anyway by the layers. Now the two green papers are taped together. And I'm just going to just try to get the layers to look the way I want them. I'm going to pop the photos up on Fun Foam. This is self-adhesive. Get it at Walmart. Now it doesn't like adhesive, so I ended up having to go back after the layout was done and use hot glue on the Fun Foam to adhere it to the things. They just kept popping off. That is crooked and it's driving me nuts. With the lines on it, it should be easy for me to line it up, but it wasn't. So now it's straight. Stitching on the bottom, that's what I'm pointing out that I'm going to stitch. Voila, done. Now I need the banner, and I wanted it to be black to kind of round out the triangle there and spread the black around. So I'm just going to fold it in half, cut up the center, and cut the banner. It doesn't really matter. They're not going to be next to each other, so it doesn't matter if they're just slightly off. Just doesn't need to be a whole piece. It hides in the layers. Now this one over here, it gets crooked. I end up fixing it, but it's just slightly crooked. I can see it. I'm going to put Fun Foam on the one end because the chipboard pops it up. This is almost the exact height of the chipboard, so it makes it completely level. Now, I'm thinking back, I should have cut the chipboard so that I could have saved some of the pieces, because I do this often when I just tuck, you just see parts of it. But I didn't. I wasted that whole chipboard. What a shame. Yeah, so I adhere this down. Like I said, I ended up hot gluing them because they didn't stick. I'm going to really speed up through here. The journaling is, at the top, says California trip, 1957. Jerry, Grandpa, Deb, Ronald, pictured. In the bottom says, my mom was 5 on this trip and remembers Jerry slamming his finger into the car door while they were at the chandelier tree. Ouch. This was about all I could say about this trip because I wasn't on it, and I just remember the story that my mom told me while I was scanning the photos in. The paper's so thin that it's floppy, so I'm going to just put a Project Life card on the back of it so it firms it up a little bit. But I often do that with the layouts that I wasn't there, but I like the photos and want to tell a story. I try to use someone else's memories, so the journaling is kind of just very general, and I pick a certain thing that doesn't have nothing to do with the photos. You don't see a photo of my uncle slamming his finger in the door, and you don't even see his finger bandaged up. So the photos have nothing to do with him slamming his finger, but that's the memory my mom has. She was 5 of this trip. Probably was very traumatic for her at 5 to have her older brother screaming in pain. Now I'm just going to stick Fun Foam under all the little areas that seem to be a little bit saggy. And I'm going to put a little bit under this banner. And I'm going to stick it way under so it sticks up higher than the rest of the layers. I'm not sure how it's going to look in the page protector. It's going to push down, but it will be fine. I have the idea that I need to sprinkle, so I'm going to use the black coal again to just sprinkle on the top and the bottom. I want to cover up all the journaling and all the pictures. I'm kind of a messy when I sprinkle. While I'm doing all this, I'm trying to figure out my title. Because this is not my memory, the title kind of is throwing me out. I don't want to bring up the slamming the finger again in the title because that's not what I want people to first see when they look at this photo. I don't have a lot of green letter stickers, but I do have this jelly bean soup, alpha beans in gumbo green, and it complements really well, almost matches. And my mother's maiden name is Bennett. So I'm going to go with a pretty generic title that says Bennett's Vacation. I'm assuming that the title is going to go right here, just like it is on the sketch. On the sketch, it kind of overlaps the photo and juts out. I can't do that with these little letter stickers and all the layers and the different heights. So I think I'm just going to have it go right underneath here. But I run into a problem with the letter stickers being as small as they are, and the newsprint just kind of doesn't make it a visual pleasing to read. So the next best spot is on this white space of the photo. It's not ideal. It works. It keeps everything together right inside that little cluster. So it works. And like I said, I don't love the title. It seems kind of, I don't know, lame. But for the layout that it is in the story I told, I think it works, and it is nice. I'm going to put tape on the back just so the threads don't get caught up and rip out. I'm almost out of my tape that I used for this, so I had to get another piece. And this ends up being layout 60 of 2017 for load 517, day 20. I'm going to show you some close-ups on the video and also live shots at the end. If this is your first time ever here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I want to apologize for the raspy voice. We have some sort of nasal thing going around our house, and I can't quite shake it, so I kind of sound like a little bit rough to me. But if you liked what you saw, please subscribe. I would love to keep in touch with you. Thank you.